Truly, friends, in your defensive encounter, no one is coming to help you. The Mantis X firearms training system attaches to any gun with a rail and to your phone via Bluetooth to track barrel movement every shot you take. Use it to help you be the most accurate, fastest shot you possibly can in a defensive encounter. I use it in my training all the time. Hi everyone, this is John with today's active self-protection lesson out of Seattle, Washington. Here we're going to see a whole bunch of bystanders who do a whole bunch of nothing to help someone in need. So we see this girl walking towards the bottom of the screen, and if you go read the news stories, she's no saint, but she sees that problems are coming. So she goes over to these guards that are contract guards. They're not police officers, contracted by the city to just observe and report. Their orders from their bosses are observe and report. Now she goes over to him and says, hey, this girl's coming. It's going to be problems. But again, they're told specifically not to intervene. And so now she's going to try to kind of keep one of them between her and this girl who wants a piece of her. And when she turns her back on that girl's going to just have at it with her. And again, these guards aren't going to do anything. They're observe and report. None of the other people around are going to do anything. And that girl's going to get her on the ground and whoop on her real good. Now you're going to see here that she at this point is just kind of getting her head and her neck protected by her hands. The one guard kind of steps in and goes, hey, that's kind of enough. Stomps on her a couple of times. That's pretty significant. Comes back again and stomps her again. And finally has had enough and decides to run off. And now we're going to let this continue to go here, and you recognize again, she's just laying there, nobody's doing anything, and that's where this one ends. This girl had a long time getting some help. In today's video, I have a poll question for you. Would you get involved in an incident like this, or is this one of those times where you say, not my circus, not my monkey? Hit the poll, let me know what you think. I'll tell you that I think that there are some things that are so significantly bad that you got to step in no matter what. And out of this one, I want to talk about the bystander effect and when you might want to step in and where that line is for you and for yours. I also want to talk about de-escalation, escape, and avoidance, and why I say empty-handed skills are so important. I want to start here by thinking about awareness. You look at this girl here, and again, she's looking over and sees what's going on. She has her head up and she sees the threat. Awareness buys you time, and time buys you options. That's incredibly important for this girl here, as she is, able to respond in different ways. Now, again, that could be because, she's given these as often as she's gotten them. She's had some, problems of her own. But at any rate, she recognizes, I got to get to a better position. Now, she chooses here some people in authority. Now, that's generally a good choice, except for the policies of this particular group says that they're not willing to help her. And so, again, she's asked them for help. They're looking at what's going on. But you got to recognize, in your self-defense, you are on your own. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to rescue you. You are the primary agent in your own self-defense, and they will not help you. Now, you might get lucky and you might have some bystanders step in, or you might get lucky and you might have a really good police officer who happens to be in the vicinity, but the chances of that are slim. So when you're thinking about improving your position, you better be ready yourself with everything on you. You got to be ready to go. Now, when this girl comes up, I like a couple of things that our victim did here. Notice that she moves away and that she gets a barrier in the person of that guard between her and her, intended attacker, the one who's coming out and being aggressive towards her. She gets a barrier between her. So she's paying attention. She could have escaped there, could have evaded, tried to get to a safe place to make her stop. Now she's stopping the encroachment, getting something between her and this other girl. And that was a really good idea, but here's where it goes south. You notice here that our victim turns her back on her attacker. And because she turned her back on her attacker, I think that what that does a lot of times when you turn your back on somebody, it says, I disdain you. It says that I am not, you're not a threat to me. I can take you anytime. And it can engage an anger instinct, a predator instinct in those who would attack us. And I think that's exactly what happened here. If you got a threat in your vicinity, if you're managing an unknown contact, as Craig Douglas would put it, never turn your back on them. That is an actual invitation to an attack, and that's exactly what happens here. Now, friends, you've got to be able to use your hands to defend yourself. I don't care if you carry a firearm. Not every attack is worthy of a firearm, number one, and not every one that is worthy of a firearm will you be able to get your firearm out and into the fight. Empty-handed skills are incredibly important for all self-defenders. Had she known and had she trained in some empty-handed self-defense, I'm guessing that she may not have wondered whether or not she needed to have those skills and whether she would have turned her back on this other girl. Now, again, as it continues on here, we're going to see that this is not a real martial artsy fight. It's a classic, girl fight from high school, which is what it looks like. But then they end up on the ground, and part of your training has to be ground-based. I know a lot of martial arts systems are all standing, but you got to be able to take care of yourself from your back. You got to be able to take care of yourself from an entangled fight on your feet up against the wall. And so I don't, suggest a very particular style of martial arts or one over the other, but one that has some grappling in it, has some groundwork in it, has some entangled fighting in it. Those are very important, as are some striking skills, in my opinion, as well. So she didn't have a whole lot of that here, and now it starts to really raise because the girl gets her down and starts really wailing on her and then starts stomping her. Now, we got to recognize at this point things start changing. A shod foot can very much be considered a deadly weapon. When you go from punching somebody to kicking somebody with a foot that has a shoe on it, a shod foot, as I just said, that can become a deadly weapon. So at this point, if this girl was armed and all that stuff, I recognize she was a 15-year-old kid, she might have been able to use deadly force, but ask yourself the question, even though she had the right, did she have the ability in that moment? The answer is almost certainly no, because it's very difficult at that point to do that. Now then, look at all the bystanders standing around. Somebody has to be willing to start some first aid. Somebody has to be willing to get on the phone with 911. So if you catch yourself in this kind of situation as a bystander, you have to break the bystander effect. Now, there's a lot of follow-up that I've put links in the description on what happened here, who was held responsible, and all those other things. So go check those out for the after story. But let's learn the lessons of what happened in this particular one so that we can cover our ASP.